Well, good morning. I hope you're doing well. This is the Moto Guzzi V100 Mandello, and it's a very interesting motorcycle. Let me tell you why. Okay, so what is so interesting about the Mandello? Well, so normally in a motorcycle, of course, when we have a V-twin engine, the rear cylinder will be like this and the front cylinder will be like this. But Moto Guzzi has a very long heritage of making their V-twin engines mounted like this, which is again very unique. There's only a couple of bikes in history that have actually done this, and it will make for some interesting quirks I'll tell you about later. Another huge thing is this over here, you can see. So these are active aero panels. So you see the cutout over here, and when you enter certain riding modes or you go for certain speeds, these will actually pop out and they will improve the wind protection. Seeing it for the first time in real life, I think it was just so much theater, it's so much fun, just having like those little pop-out things at Aero. It's just really fun, really interesting, really unique. Another thing I quickly wanted to touch on was just the way this thing looks. Because it is Italian, of course, you would expect it to look nice, but yeah, let's talk about the design for a second, because I do think it deserves a lot of attention. In real life, the proportions are absolutely amazing. Like, it looks really muscular and basically like a big supermoto. It has a really nice stance to it. And there's tons of nice little design features, like over here on the rear lights, they're like these turbines, which is really cool. The paint over here is just absolutely beautiful. I love the color scheme as well. You have the bronze alloys with the single-sided swim arm, and I mean, come on, look at these rims. This is just absolutely amazing, right? The stance of this thing, the way it looks, even for like a touring bike, which is, you know, supposed to be quite a mature bike, I think this thing looks absolutely amazing. Now, enough talking, let's hop on, go for a ride, and I'll tell you what it's like.
Okay, so first thing I noticed when I got on the Guzzi is the star of the show is absolutely that engine. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's got about 100 horsepower, so that's right about the sweet spot where you would want it in the street. Yeah, I think the main word to describe it would just be character. So it's perfectly smooth, it's perfectly capable of doing the slow day-to-day stuff, the boring stuff. But when you get to a nice twisty road, and you go over 5,000–6,000 RPM, you get a really nice amount of induction noise, and it just sounds glorious. It has a bunch of torque, like this, but it also has a nice bit of top end, so it's very flexible, it's very enjoyable, and it is just very characterful. I would definitely say it's probably the highlight of this motorcycle. Whoop. And as you might have been able to notice, below here, these are the aerodynamic wings I was talking about. So I'm in touring mode right now, and that means they are always deployed, so they're always going to offer the most amount of wind protection and rain protection. Nice thing about this bike, it also has an electronically adjustable windscreen. So I press this button and it goes like zzz, it goes up. So yeah, if you put it in touring mode, you get the wings, you put on the windscreen, it actually does a pretty decent job of keeping the wind off of you. That being said, it is still a relatively small touring motorcycle, so it's never going to offer the wind protection that the full-blown touring motorcycle is going to have. A little quirk you might have noticed there when I was pulling away earlier, if you put this bike at the first gear, it makes the biggest clunk I've ever heard. I don't know, I almost want to say like, so it feels like something's wrong, but I know from other people that that's just the way these bikes are. The transmission is very characterful, let's say. So yeah, this motorcycle definitely has some quirks. But yeah, just that engine to me. If you want to overtake, I think the throttle response is best suited to touring mode. You can put it in sport or in road, and it sharpens it up a little bit. But to me in touring it's just absolutely perfect. It's not too aggressive. And this bike also has the electronically adjustable suspension, which also gets adjusted in the riding modes. But yeah, touring mode is just a little bit softer. It irons out the bumps really well, and it's still quite good around these corners. Whoop. Oh yeah, that's some good sound, right? Come on. Oh. The quick shifter is something you do kind of have to learn. Sometimes it is smooth and sometimes it's not. It's very much a traditional quick shifter in that sense, where it just cuts the power for a second, and you know, you have to learn the right amount of throttle and the right rev range to make it smooth. I would say the down blipper overall is quite smooth, so that's quite nice. But honestly, I wouldn't mind not having all of that stuff on this bike. I think the raw character it has, it feels like a big supermoto. It feels like a pretty, I don't know, kind of old school motorcycle. I actually like using the clutch and, you know, rev matching myself. And I think actually like the whole setup, the engine and stuff suits it really well. So I've actually been finding myself manually upshifting and downshifting, which is nice for a change on all of the modern bikes actually. Comfort wise, I'd say the bike is reasonably good. It strikes a nice balance between being sporty and being, you know, a touring motorcycle. Like I mentioned before, there are definitely motorcycles out there with better wind coverage. But yeah, just honestly, the way this thing looks more than makes up for it. And because the windscreen is adjustable, you can also throw on a larger touring screen. And then, of course, you have more wind protection though. So if you go on long trips, I would definitely do that. But just for poodling around town and around the Netherlands over here, I really do enjoy this short smoked windscreen. I think it suits the bike really well. It makes it look really aggressive.
Alright, so if your motorcycle is as precious to you as it is to me, you're going to want to protect it. And I think one of the best ways to do that is with a motorcycle cover like this one. This is the Flex from DS Covers, the sponsor of today's video. This one is actually particularly cool because this is the indoor version. It's a very stretchy material, and you can also like let them custom print it. So if you're passionate about your particular motorcycle, maybe you can print the type of motorcycle or your own name or your company logo or anything. So very cool. And I've actually been a customer with them for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. And during that time, I've actually only bought 2 of their covers because they're that high quality. They actually lasted that long. And yeah, they offer a vast array of sizes. So whether you have a little Grom or a big adventure bike with all the panniers, with all the top cases, they have the right size for you. They offer international shipping, and I have a discount code that's RIC10. So if you are interested, you can use code RIC10 for a 10% discount. Honestly, if you're in the market for a motorcycle cover or a good way to protect your motorcycle when it is in storage or maybe when it's parked outside, I honestly cannot recommend them anymore. They're just fantastic.
So around town, the suspension does a decent enough job of soaking up all the bumps, especially when you put it into touring mode. Being an upright touring bike, it's pretty easy to ride. You know, you have a nice nice white big fat handlebar. So it's fairly easy to chuck around. I will say something like a GS or an Africa Twin is a little bit easier to ride around town. I feel like a GS or Africa Twin or something like that gets out of your way a little bit more. And just that ease of ride factor, like everything being very smooth and very predictable. I don't like this bike is definitely not bad in that sense. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still very quite nice around town, very easy to ride. But yeah, it is just a little bit more spicy Italian, so to say. Now, another unique thing about this motorcycle, and then especially when you ride it around town, is the way it makes you feel, the way it looks. The fact that people do appreciate this motorcycle because it's something unique and it's absolutely beautifully finished and the color is really nice. So yeah, it's just, you know, in Italian they have the saying La dolce vita. Awful pronunciation, I'm sure, but you know, the good life or the sweet life. I think that this motorcycle captures that pretty well. It does make you feel, you know, happy and special and good. And I think that's good. I think that's kind of what a motorcycle like this needs, you know. It's not the most common choice, it's not the most sensible choice if you're spending 18 to 21,000 euros. So yeah, definitely needs some character, and it's good that it delivers in that way. Okay, let me show you this. I put it in neutral. Look at this. Clutch in, front brake, clunk. Okay, another quirk, because the engine is like this, like I mentioned before. When you give it some throttle, you see the entire bike moves to the left or to the right. That's because of the inertia in the engine. But yeah, all of that, you know, it just adds to the character, adds to the quirkiness, to the Moto Guzzi. Oh, I gotta stop doing the accent. I think this is a motorcycle you just fall in love with, you know? It's not the most sensible choice, it's not the cheapest choice, it's not the best on paper, but you fall in love with the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way the engine behaves, the way it rides, the way it makes you feel. And personally, I think that's what motorcycles are all about, right? Because on paper, motorcycling doesn't make a whole lot of sense for most people. Oh, bird. I think for most people it's a hobby or a way of living or a passion. And we do it out of emotion, out of love, you know. And I think a motorcycle like this perfectly encapsulates that. And I really, really do appreciate it for that.
Alright, so I've got it all cleaned up and ready to go back to Moto Guzzi. I'm sorry if this video has been a little bit different than usual. The last few days have been raining. I only had this bike for 2 full days, and it was raining for basically all of the time. So I had to record this entire video this morning. I'm actually handing it back right now. But yeah, what I think about the Guzzi, I think it's really good. I actually really enjoy it. Like I said before, I don't think it's a bike for everyone. I think you do have to really fall in love with it. But there is a lot to fall in love with. So yeah, I really like it. I'm kind of sad to send it back already. I would have liked to spend more time with it, but you know, we live in the Netherlands, it is what it is. I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless. If you do, please subscribe, please leave a like. I hope you have a nice day. I hope you're kind to yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.